Claire dumps Holden. Cain forgives Phyllis and begs Daniel to help save Lily. Today on Young and Restless, Victoria gives Billy a reality check, Cain schemes to form an alliance with Daniel, and Claire wants to trade secrets with Holden. Sally named Audra co-CEO of Spectra Charles, and Billy was furious when Victoria pushed him too far. In LA, Claire meets with Holden at the eatery and they sputter about their plans for a hike. There's nothing he'd rather do, but he has to work. Cain's PI still hasn't set up Lily and the kiddies. It seems like the hijacking could be real. Claire doesn't suppose her forefather would put Lily in detriment's way. Holden says it's not out of the realm of possibility. She's sure it's just a ploy. Holden explains that Phyllis crossed Cain and took over Newman. Now, she's faded. This is all a agony for Claire and her family. It's hard to believe this has all happened so presto. She insists Cain is to condemn for everything. She also hates that Holden is still working for him. Holden prodigies if her concern for him is a sign they're getting serious. Claire says she's not ready for serious. He senses she still has an issue with him. She doesn't want to bandy that and decides it's time to go home. Holden says there's nothing for her to do. Claire wants to give her mama moral support. He can't argue with that. He suppositions she only came to LA to dig for dirt on Audra. Is she ever going to let this go? Claire admits she has no tolerance for people who don't live actually. The thing she likes the least about Holden is that he came to City as a fake, just like she did. She can't suppose about anything serious between them until she knows the unabridged verity. He claims he told her everything. Claire knows he hasn't and has set up out the art dealer they ripped off faded. He asks if she thinks he and Audra could be that satanic. She's sure Audra is able of anything. She only knows Holden superficially. He allowed. They had commodity deeper. Claire really doesn't know who is beyond his facade. He says what you see is what you get. She finds that hard to believe. Holden says he has no dark motives. She wonders if he just covered up an accident. He wonders who she's been talking to. As the exit, she admits no bone. Knows why the art dealer faded. He reminds her he wasn't a nice Joe and likely had adversaries. She claims she's only working through scripts because he's not honest. Her gut tells her she's not getting the full story. Until that feeling goes down, they need to stop seeing each other. On his train, Cain leaves a communication for Phyllis, wondering why she's giving him radio silence. It's not like her to give up a chance to bewail. They need to talk. He admires her survival instinct and her triumph. She didn't give up, indeed when he did. He knows how important this palm means to her after everyone let her down. He's sorry that he let her down too. Cain acknowledges his conduct forced her to cross him. He still thinks he made the right decision but can see she sees effects else. He forgives her for all that and hopes they can continue the particular part of their relationship. When he gets off the line, Daniel shows up. He explains his mama took the Newman spurt to Milan to fix effects with Summer. He assumes his mama wants to move Summer to come back. Daniel can't see that actually working. He explains he's done with his mama and he doesn't want to work effects out with her. Neither does his family. Cain thinks this is bad. He feels for Phyllis, indeed after what she did to him. He just wants this to end. Daniel will recommend him for putting his family first. Cain needs Phyllis to subscribe the company back over to Victor so Lily and the kiddies will be free. Daniel doesn't believe Victor would ever hurt them. Cain reminds him he loved Lily formerly too and urges him to help for her sake. Daniel thinks that's enough downward. Cain asks him to try and talk his mama around. Daniel is sure his mama won't hear to him. She has the power she always wanted and won't give that up for anyone. Ashby has an idea for how they can save Phyllis from herself, but he needs his help. At Society, Billy rails to Jack about Victoria transferring his kiddies to boarding academy behind his reverse. Jack doesn't suppose he should be surprised. Billy thinks she's gone too far. When Victoria walks in with Nate, Billy marches over to her. "How dare you take my kiddies down from me," he says. She insists it's in the stylish interests of their children. She wants to cover them from the fallout coming. Billy is confident this is vengeance. He accuses her of being as bad as the rest of her family and snaps when Nate tries to calm effects down. Billy says he'll refuse to subscribe the paperwork to let their kiddies go. Jack and Nate head over to the bar. Victoria and Billy go outdoors to argue. She demands he move Phyllis to subscribe effects back. He refuses. She refuses to let their kiddies suffer because of his terrible opinions. He admits he apologized to her mama for what's happened but adds the Newmans need to move on. She refuses to accept defeat from him and he accuses her of using their kiddies for blackmail. You're going to go on with my plan whether you like it or not, she says. He says that won't be. Victoria threatens to call the academy and play for sympathy. He points out any felonious disquisition will also expose her family. She reminds him of how important plutocrat her family has given the boarding academy and orders him to subscribe the readmission form. Billy will agree they should keep the kiddies out of a war but he wonders about the timing. She no way tried to shoot them down when her father was ruining his life. Victoria admits she wants to knock him down a many pegs. He thinks she needs to accept what Phyllis did is final. She tells him he's brought on a big fight and should get the kiddies out of the way before it gets worse. He takes off. Back outside, Jack and Nate agree that Victoria will probably win this fight. Jack admits that he's happy about Victor's fall but feels terrible for Nikki. Jack would like his family to have a palm, but his motives are each wrong. They bandy Jill's precarious health. Nate admits he's been struck by how short life is and hopes Billy realizes that. Commodity like that could help him review his precedences. Jack asks if he's been reconnecting with Victoria. He suppositions they set up common ground in their grieving. Nate says he enjoys her company but has put love on the back burner. Victoria joins them for a drink. Jack makes it clear he doesn't authorize of what his family has done, but doesn't suppose she should get the kiddies involved. She insists she knows what she's doing. On the coming emotionally charged occasion of the young and the restless, the fallout from Claire's heartbreaking decision, Cain's hopeless plea, and Victoria's ruthless maneuvering sends shockwaves through Genoa City, leaving every family fractured and every alliance on edge. After walking down from Holden in Los Angeles, Claire boards her flight home with gashes she refuses to let fall, replaying every word of their battle in her mind. She meant what she said, until she knows the full verity about the mysterious exposure of the art dealer and Holden's possible connection to Audra's shadowy dealings. She cannot allow herself to fall deeper. Yet indeed as she brands herself, mistrustfulness creeps in. What if she pushed down the one person who authentically watched? Back in Genoa City, Claire arrives at the Newman estate determined to stand by her mama and guard Lily from the raising chaos girding Cain and Phyllis. Lily, still shaken by the kidnapping dread involving her children, struggles to maintain countenance. Though she insists to Devon and Nate that she believes Victor would no way allow real detriment to come to her kiddies, a splinter of fear remains, because in Genoa City, power always comes with contributory damage. Meanwhile, Cain wastes no time setting his parlous plan into stir. After leaving that vulnerable communication for Phyllis, one laced with remorse, admiration, and a surprising offer of remission, he realizes she hasn't responded. Her silence unnerves him. He knows Phyllis Summers better than utmost. Silence from her is no way surrender, it's strategy. Determined not to lose everything, he corners Daniel at society formally more, this time dropping the businesslike tone and speaking from the heart. He reminds Daniel of the woman Phyllis used to be, the mama who fought for her children at any cost. He argues that the power she seized by catching Newman Enterprises isn't freedom, it's insulation. Cain confesses he's willing to swallow his pride fully if it means Lily and the halves are safe. Daniel, torn between wrathfulness and moping fidelity, listens more nearly than ahead. Though he insists he's done cleaning up his mama's messes, he can't ignore the earthquake in Cain's voice when Lily's name is mentioned. For the first time, Daniel considers that helping Cain might actually save his mama from tone destruction. Across city, Billy's fury continues to boil after Victoria's boarding academy claim. He storms into the Abbott manse, venting to Jack about how the Newmans always play the long game and always play dirty. Jack, ever realistic, urges him to consider whether fighting Victoria intimately will only consolidate the damage to their children. Billy insists he won't be manipulated, yet intimately he wonders if Victoria's trouble holds weight. She's no way been more calculating. At the Newman services, Victoria confides in Nate that she didn't make the boarding academy decision smoothly. She claims she's guarding their children from the war brewing between Victor, Phyllis, and Cain, but beneath her controlled surface is commodity, further particular a need to assert dominance, to prove she'll not be overreached again. Nate, reflecting on Jill's fragile health and the transitory nature of life, gently questions whether revenge is worth alienating Billy fully. Victoria deflects, but his words loiter. Latterly, in a stunning twist, Clare overhears a tense exchange between Audra and Holden during a private call. Holden insists he's running the situation, and Audra coldly reminds him that loose ends have consequences. Clare's heart sinks. Was her instinct right each along? When she confronts Audra directly, the battle crackles with subtext and veiled pitfalls. Audra warns Clare not to dig into matters she doesn't understand, suggesting that some trueness destroy further than they liberate. Shaken but resolute, Clare doubles down on her decision to cut Holden loose, for now. Back in Milan, Phyllis meets with Summer in a lavish suite overlooking the megacity skyline. She paints her preemption as a triumph, a recovery of respect long denied to her. But Summer sees through the bravado, criminating her mama of choosing power over family yet again. Alone after Summer leaves in gashes, Phyllis renewals Cain's voicemail. His words, "I forgive you," echo in the silence. Remission is strange home for her. It unsettles her further than wrathfulness ever could. As the occasion builds toward its final act, Daniel makes a surprising visit to the Newman services. Rather of defying Phyllis with hostility, he proposes a discussion, one that could review their fractured bond. He tells her he doesn't want to fight presently, but he won't support her conglomerate if it costs Lily's children their safety. Phyllis, protective at first, eventually reveals a crack in her armor she no way intended for effects to helical this far. She believed she could control Victor, control Cain, control the narrative. Now she's not so sure. Meanwhile, Cain prepares contingency plans, reaching out to doubtful abettors and intimating at a strategic concession that could return Newman Enterprises to Victor if certain guarantees are met. He's gambling everything on the belief that Daniel can reach Phyllis where he cannot. At Society, pressures explode when Billy and Victoria cross paths again. This time, rather of crying, they speak in icy whispers. Victoria reveals she's formally communicated the boarding academe. The paperwork is a formality. Billy realizes she anticipated his turn down. But he counters with his own move. He's set to go public about the internal chaos at Newman, a reproach that could drag them all down. As Jack watches from hence, he senses that the feud has crossed into dangerous home. The ending montage intercuts Clare standing alone, gaping at her phone as Holden's name flashes before she silences it. Phyllis gripping her phone, Daniel's plea softening her expression, Cain gaping at a print of Lily and the halves, bruiting that he'll fix this no matter the cost, and Victoria lifting a glass beside Nate, her eyes betraying query despite her confident posture. In true Genoa City fashion, alliances are shifting, commitment are tested, and remission may be the most dangerous move of all. The question remains, will Clare uncover the verity about Holden before it's too late? Will Daniel's intervention save Phyllis from herself? And will Victoria's power play cover her children or push Billy into a retribution that changes everything? On the following explosive chapter of The Young and the Restless, the emotional foresharks continue to ripple through Genoa City, enhancing every fracture line that was formerly beginning to resolve wide open. The morning after Claire's return from Los Angeles feels deceptively calm, but beneath the polished shells of the Newman estate and the Abbott manse, pressures poach dangerously close to eruption. Claire wakes beforehand, unfit to sleep, replaying Holden's voice in her head, not just his denials, but the subtle vacillation when she pressed him about the missing art dealer. She tells herself she did the right thing by ending it. Trust is everything, especially in a family like hers where deception is virtually an alternate language. And yet, the pang in her casket refuses to quiet. She insists to Victoria over coffee that she's forfeiture, that she's fastening on family, but Victoria sees the flicker of mistrustfulness in her son's eyes. Victoria, juggling her own raising war with Billy, doesn't have the bandwidth to probe too deeply, but she warns Claire that men who operate in Argentine areas infrequently step into the light without consequences. Claire nods, though part of her prodigies if she herself has ever truly stepped into the light. Meanwhile, at Chancellor Winters, Lily forces herself into work mode. The kidnapping dread involving her children still feels fantastic, like a agony she ain't completely wake from. Devon reassures her constantly that security has been doubled and that Victor would no way allow factual detriment to come to his grandchildren. But Lily knows better than anyone that contributory damage happens when self-esteem disaccord at the top. She meets with Nate to bandy damage control, and their discussion inescapably turns to Cain. Nate admits that Cain approached Daniel in a last gutter trouble to broker peace through Phyllis. Lily bristles at the citation of Phyllis's name, the treason still raw. She formerly believed Cain would choose her and their children over all additional. Now she questions whether his despair is about love or pride. Still, when she learns he's willing to relinquish control of Newman Enterprises just to secure safety guarantees, commodity inside her softens. Not remission. Not yet. But recognition. Across city, Daniel sits alone at Crimson Lights, gaping at his phone after his emotionally charged meeting with his mama in Milan. He hasn't told anyone what she said in response to his plea, and the weight of it hangs heavy. Phyllis, for all her bravado, didn't dismiss him outright. Rather, she asked a question that unsettled him. If I give this up, what do I get in return? It wasn't about plutocrat or power. It was about confirmation. Daniel begins to realize that his mama's hunger for control has always been embedded in feeling helpless. When Cain joins him unasked, Daniel doesn't incontinently push him down. Cain lays everything bare, his remorse, his fear for Lily, his acknowledgement that he undervalued Phyllis's resoluteness. He indeed confesses that forgiving her wasn't a strategy, it was survival. Daniel studies him precisely. For the first time, he sees a man stripped of pride. He doesn't promise anything, but he agrees to try again. However, he'll explore it for Lily's kiddies, if nothing differently, if there's a path toward escalation. At the Abbott manse, Billy refuses to be cornered. Victoria's boarding academy initiative feels like a calculated strike aimed straight at his heart. He reflections to Jack, who listens with measured tolerance. Jack points out that public warfare with the Newmans infrequently ends fairly. Billy counters that staying silent would make him complicit. The children earn stability, not to be used as influence in a commercial chess match. Latterly, Billy confronts Victoria intimately at society. The battle is quieter this time, but further slice. Victoria insists she's guarding their children from the storm brewing around Newman Enterprises. Billy accuses her of exploiting fear to assert dominance. When she calmly informs him that primary arrangements with the boarding academe are formally in stir, his countenance fractures. He realizes she anticipated his turndown and moved ahead anyway. In retribution, he reveals his set to expose internal vulnerabilities at Newman if she continues down this path. The stalemate intensifies. Two parents induce their right, neither willing to blink. Away, Claire's reservations about Holden consolidate when she receives an anonymous communication containing a blurred snap of Holden meeting with Audra late at night. The timestamp is recent, after their supposed honest discussion in Los Angeles. Claire's palpitation races. She debates defying him incontinently but decides rather to dig further. She reaches out to a private investigator Victor formally recommended, careful not to involve her forefather directly. However, she intends to uncover it herself, if Holden is entangled in commodity darker than he admitted. Yet when Holden calls again, his voice softer, nearly vulnerable, she hesitates before letting it ring out. He leaves a communication averring he no way meant to hurt her, that she's misunderstanding the situation. The sincerity in his tone complicates everything. Claire hates that part of her still wants to believe him. Back in Milan, Phyllis stands at a crossroads. Summer's tearful allegations echo louder than Cain's remission. Power, she realizes, feels concave without family beside her. But surrendering control would mean admitting vulnerability, a language she's no way spoken easily. When Daniel calls again, she answers incontinently. He doesn't argue this time. He tells her simply that he misses his mama. The statement cracks commodity open. Phyllis confesses that she stressed if she didn't seize control, she'd be sidelined ever. Daniel counters that she's sidelining herself by pushing everyone down. Their discussion ends undetermined, but softer. Cain, seeing instigation, arranges a discreet meeting with Victor through an conciliator. He proposes a tentative transfer of Newman Enterprises back to its original structure in exchange for ironclad guarantees regarding Lily and the halves' safety. Victor, ever inscrutable, listens without revealing his hand. He reminds Cain that trust isn't currency fluently restored. Still, the bare fact that Cain is willing to step back schemes him. Victor has always admired bold moves, indeed from adversaries. Meanwhile, Nate and Victoria grow closer in the quiet spaces between battles. Nate shares his reflections on Jill's fragile health, how watching someone defy mortality reframes precedences. Victoria admits that beneath her toughened surface, she fears losing control further than losing Billy. Nate gently suggests that control and protection aren't the same thing. Their connection deepens, not overtly romantic, but intimate in understanding. Victoria begins to question whether raising the feud truly safeguards her children or simply perpetuates a cycle she formerly begrudged in her own parents. As night falls over Genoa City, pressures meet. Claire eventually confronts Audra directly, presenting the snap without blameworthiness but with unwavering resolution.